Hey, what's up everyone? Shane
And Michael.
and Michael. Woohoo! Today is a Campfire Rant and we're doing it together because we're on an adventure and we've been off-roading with these awesome trailers and we thought, hey, let's sit down. We've been talking, having some conversations back and forth on some Campfire Rants we wanted to share with all of you. Today we're going to talk about how doing custom in manufacturing is way more difficult and way more expensive than you realize, and we're going to get into those details right now. If you like these Campfire Rants, don't forget, go check out our playlist. We got tons of topics that we cover all the time about why maybe you shouldn't buy a trailer, or living in trailers, or towing, or the truth about Black Series, whatever it is. We have tons of different topics. You can go through them, look through them, and learn all kinds of stuff. But today we're talking about manufacturing, and a lot of people come in, there's like, hey, can you custom this, or can you change that, or can you do that? We're pretty known for doing a lot of custom stuff, but manufacturers, are always a little bit hesitant on doing custom. And the reason why is it's a lot more expensive and more difficult than you realize.
We've experienced a lot of that. That's our main thing, is customizing and doing things, which as time's gone on and as you get bigger too, it becomes harder to do custom work, but we still do it. We don't shy from it, but we've experienced a lot of that with our own trailers with like the Roamer 1. One of the things that we specifically manufactured ourselves for it and designed it was the outside kitchen. And I worked on that for months. It was a long time.
Like maybe 6 months.
Yeah, like almost 6 months designing it. And then I would get my first design and then I was like, all right, let's get the prototype. And then I would get all the metal cut, get everything built, put it together. And then you'd be like, oh, that doesn't fit. Oh, I need a hole there. Oh, this doesn't fit either. And then you'd be like, all right, well, let's go buy another couple $1,000s in metal over and over. And so just to get it to where you're like, this is a finished product, you can spend thousands of dollars just to get it to the spot.
You're not just like buying, measuring, and bending. You're putting it in a CAD design and getting it all like pretty accurate.
Yep.
And still going through.
Yeah, sometimes you have to go through renditions. And that's like with any custom work, a lot of times that's kind of lost behind the scenes. So when you're looking at getting a custom work done, you're like, I want this something custom that you've never done before. You're capable of doing it because we're very versatile and we can get it figured out. But many times it's like, well, we may go through a couple renditions before we feel happy to
give it to you.
And have you pay for it. But then there's 3 on the shelf that are all basically trash.
Trash.
Because it was just R&D and trying to figure out this one change. And even to the smallest of things sometimes is even like, can you just put an outlet right there? Just putting an outlet right there sometimes is like, oh yeah, sure. Cut the hole and you're like, oh crap, it won't fit there. There's something behind there, and you couldn't know that unless you built the trailer from the beginning.
Well, yeah, we work with a lot of manufacturers, right? Because we're in a unique situation where we're doing some exclusive white label where we are part of some of the original designs. But even the manufacturer themselves, like for example, a lot of people complain about the Imperial Outdoors because they only have full-size beds, and they're like, I want a queen. And you're like, okay, that's great and all. They're like, why don't you just make a queen for me? Well, it's because we bought 100 overhead cabinets and side cabinets and nightstands, and we bought 100 of those. So we need to essentially sell 100 of those before we can order another 100 of those. But the reason why we have 100 of that cabinet piece is because the cost of buying one cabinet versus 100
drastically less. That's how every company works in the entire world. Is, hey, you work with me consistently and you buy a lot from me. We help each other out. You buy from me, I give you a discount. That's normal.
It's crazy, like you'll send out for a part or something and try to get something and say, hey, can you make me the sign? And they go, yeah, that's gonna be $1,500. And you're like, $1,500? Like, that's a lot of money. It's like, well, are you just buying one? Yeah, well, it's $1,500. Well, what if you buy 5? Then it's like $1,100, right? Well, what if you buy 50, right? It's crazy how much you can almost sometimes cut the cost in half. And that price savings, it moves all the way through from the manufacturer to the dealer to the owner.
As you can see an example on Amazon, you can go on to any product, and if you buy multiples, you get a discount.
Yeah.
So everywhere does that. And then the other big part, just like back to these cabinets, it's like, oh, well, I want a queen bed, so just redo the cabinets, just put different ones in there. Well, that goes back to, well, it could take 6 months not just to order, but it might take 6 months to design it. I got to design it and get prototypes and then tell it fits right. And then I would get it. So this one-off, you're like, just take care of me. Sometimes it's like, well, that's going to cost $30,000 to do this one-off for this bed.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, and then people are just like, that's outrageous, and like they think it should just cost the same amount. It's because you're just making little tweaks, and it's like, no, we have to redesign it. We have to send it into the cabinet place. They have to redesign it. They have to build it. They have to ship it. So logistically speaking, it's a lot more time and money involved. And then people, they're like, that's a lot of money. It's like, no, a lot of custom stuff, I feel like we don't make a lot of money on. Stuff that we make more money on is after we've done the one custom and then we've done it over and over and over. By the time you've gotten to the 10th person, then you're actually like, oh, now we're making money. Sometimes the first stuff you're losing money, and you're like saying, well, but this is a pretty cool idea, so I think we should go for it because more people might potentially want it.
Yeah, and the other thing that's important to understand in manufacturing is that if there's not any manufacturer that manufactures everything in their product, they source from other places. That you have to, because you would have to be this crazy massive multi-businesses just to make a trailer, because you would need to have your own cabinet shop, your own composite shop, your own suspension shop, your own, and these are their entire businesses on
rubber. You gotta make your tires.
It gets crazy to think that everything is there. So usually a manufacturer, they're assembling everything together and they've designed the way they want to put it together, and then they team up with other companies to get them their products to go in there. And some of these are across the ocean, so that comes into that shipping and that multiples, where if you're ordering your cabinets from overseas, you don't want to order one cabinet because the shipping will cost more than the cabinet.
It's funny, I was just reading a book to my little girl called The Miraculous Pencil, and they go to this factory tour and they say, does one person in the world know how to make a pencil? The answer is no, because the graphite comes from a mining pit in Northern Europe. The lacquer, orange lacquer, comes from India or Malaysia. The eraser comes from Africa or South America, because it's like the special rubber, and the metal around it comes from a mining pit in Canada. The wood also comes from another country, and they're like, all the pieces come together and we make the pencil here, but we order pieces from all over the world and put it together.
And you get a pencil for 10 cents.
Yeah, isn't it crazy when you think about it? It was a really cool book, and it was very, very eye-opening, the way it explained it. It was simple, it was easy to understand. My going on 7-year-old understands how difficult manufacturing is now from reading that book. But that's it, is a lot of people think, oh, it's super easy, just change that. And it's a lot more difficult. And hopefully you learn something from it and you realize, doing custom is really hard. And there's a reason why most dealers and manufacturers just simply say no to it, because it's a huge cost, it's a huge expense, and not just cost in money, but in time, which also equates to money, because you pay people for their time. And so it is a hard thing, but hopefully you learned something there. If you have any questions, make some comments. We work with a lot of manufacturers very close in designing and building and all of these, so that's kind of thought we just kind of share some of our experience that we've had with them. Go check out our playlist, and I've got some really cool adventures coming soon on these trailers and a bunch of other stuff, so stay tuned. Talk to you later.
See ya.